Hi everyone, and welcome to our third lesson in our Chapter 10 on Government and Legal. This lesson 10.3 is about legal issues. So our objective is to investigate the impact of legal issues on entrepreneurs to complete a project presentation and preparing for and managing legal concerns. So let's start off with something called contracts. Contracts are binding agreements between two or more parties. It is the binding glue that holds expectations together and protects both parties from misunderstandings and potential harm. Now, the reason why contracts are so crucial is because they have clarity and specificity, mutual protection, they boost confidence and security, and it reduces the risk of minimizes damage, and it promotes professionalism. Talking about contracts being the binding glue, and let's look at each of those pieces, starting with clarity and specificity. Contracts spell out the exact terms of an agreement, leaving no room for ambiguity. Every detail from price and timeline to responsibilities and deliverables is laid out on paper. This helps to eliminate future confusion and potential disputes. Next is mutual protection. Both sides have a stake in the game. For businesses, contracts ensure that they receive payment and work is completed as agreed. For individuals, contracts guarantee they receive the promised goods or services and can seek legal recourse if something goes wrong. Now, the other parts of contracts, the boosting of confidence and security. Knowing expectations is clearly defined allows both parties to operate with increased confidence and security. This fosters stronger business relationships and encourages smooth transactions. Next, reducing risk and minimizing damage. Contracts act as a safety net in case things go south. If one party breaches the agreement, the other has legal grounds to seek compensation or remedy for the damages incurred. And finally, it promotes professionalism. Formalizing agreements through contracts adds a layer of professionalism to any business interaction. It demonstrates to clients and partners that you operate with integrity and transparency, strengthening your reputation. Now, contracts are more than just pieces of paper. They are the foundation of trust and collaboration in the business world. And by outlining expectations and protecting both parties, they serve as the backbone of successful deals and sustainable business relationships. So, what are the building blocks of a contract? Well, there are four key elements of a valid contract. There is the offer, which is a clear proposal of exchange, this for that. There is acceptance. This is the unequivocal agreement to the offered terms. There's consideration, where something of value is exchanged by both parties, something for something. And intention. Both parties must intend to be bound by the contract. For example, signing signifies intent. So let's give an example to kind of put it all together a little bit with kind of an example. So the offer. So imagine throwing a baseball. This is the proposal across the field. This is the offer, a clear idea of exchanging something, this for that. It must be specific. You wouldn't throw a vague something and expect to catch. Acceptance. This is catching the baseball. This is acceptance, agreeing to the exact terms of the offer, like catching the same ball, not a different one. No catches, no deal. Silence or vague responses don't count as acceptance. Next is counteroffer. What if you catch the ball and you throw a different one back? That is a counteroffer. It's changing the terms. Now the first person needs to decide whether they're going to catch the new offer or they're going to let it drop. Rejection. Now, if you're not interested, dropping the ball altogether is rejection. The offer is off the table. And finally, there is talking about expiration. Sometimes even great offers get left hanging. If too much time passes, think the ball hitting the ground. Then the offer expires. All right, let's talk about the idea of consideration. So the definition of consideration is something of value exchanged that motivates both parties to perform. For example, money, service, goods. A contract without consideration or promises may not be enforceable. So consideration is important to ensuring fairness and mutual benefit. Now, keeping your word. This is breach of contract. This is the failure to fulfill one or more obligations outlined in the agreement. Now, some consequences of breach include potential lawsuits, damages, which are financial compensation awarded to the non-breaching party to repair the harm caused by the breach. Another consequence is termination of the contract. The importance of fulfilling contract obligations to maintain positive business relationships and avoid legal repercussions is important to fulfill their contract obligations. Now, what if things go wrong? There is something called torts. So the definition of a tort is a civil wrong that causes harm or loss and result in legal liability. Businesses have a duty of care to customers, employees, and the public, and businesses can be found liable for torts committed by themselves or their employees. Businesses most often encounter tort law through negligence and liability. And we're going to talk about each one of these. So, negligence. This is a failure to act with reasonable care, potentially causing harm to others. Some examples include restaurant food poisoning, where a restaurant fails to properly store or prepare food, leading to customer illness, and failing to uphold food safety standards. How about a slippery store floor? A customer slips and falls on a wet floor because the store hasn't posted clear warnings about it, and they are also failing to maintain safe premises. Finally, there is a defective product. A faulty product causes injury to a consumer. So this is failure to ensure product safety through proper design and testing. Next is liability. Now, liability is the legal responsibility for actions or omissions that result in harm or loss. Some examples: a data breach. A company experiences a cyber attack due to an inadequate security measures exposing customers' personal information. They are responsible for compensating affected customers for damages. Unpaid wages. An employer fails to pay employees on time or correctly. They have a legal obligation to fulfill financial obligations to employees. And false advertising is another one. Another example, this is where a company makes misleading claims about its products or services, leading to consumer loss. They are responsible for compensating consumers for false or deceptive practices. All right, so that is our lesson 10.3, where we investigated the impact of legal issues on entrepreneurs in order to complete a project presentation on preparing for and managing legal concerns. We also talked about the parts and the necessity of contracts, including things like torts, where we dealt with negligence and liability.